this is Dr. Live with New Insight, and thank you so much for joining me in another video. In today's video, I will introduce a fictional character named Amber and her experiences with signs and symptoms of depression. Amber is a young adult working and completing college, navigating her daily life responsibilities, the challenges of adulting, and some negative life experiences. As you listen to Amber's story, consider her struggles and determine if you or anyone you know can relate. Now, before we meet Amber, I want you to consider something. Consider two inner thought critics in your mind. One is your inner critic, the thought or voice that blames, shames, and tells you you're failing. The other is your inner guide, the thought or voice that reminds you that you're human, you're worthy, growing, and doing the best you can. Now, here's the dilemma. When life gets heavy, which voice or thoughts get louder? Which thoughts or voice are you giving attention to? And which one do you ignore? Although this story is about Amber, it might also be about you, your thought patterns, your coping styles, and the battles you fight in silence. Without further ado, let's listen to Amber's story. Amber was feeling depressed. Not just sad, but stuck in a heaviness she could not shake. Every morning she felt numb, and she no longer had the motivation to do anything. Even simple tasks felt overwhelming. She was tired with no energy, mentally and physically drained. She no longer wanted to leave her house, answer messages, or interact with her family and friends. And the things she used to love, such as painting, listening to music, dancing, going to the gym, all felt distant and pointless. Her grades also began to slip. She missed days from both work and school, telling herself she would try again tomorrow. But tomorrow came with the same exhaustion. Amber has been carrying a lot. A painful breakup with her boyfriend of 2 years. Financial struggles as she tried to pay for her senior year in college, the pressure to hold everything together, and over time, the weight of it all has become too heavy to carry alone. Her nights were the hardest. Amber would lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying arguments, memories, and regrets. She struggled to fall asleep, and when she finally did, she would wake up exhausted. Her appetite diminished, and she even lost 5 pounds without trying. She described feeling heavy yet disconnected at the same time, as if her body weighed 1,000 pounds, but her mind was floating somewhere far away. Depression was clouding everything. Eventually, Amber decided to meet with a therapist on campus. The therapist gently asked Amber to describe her biggest stressors and the thoughts that were attached to them. The moment Amber began speaking, the emotions she'd been internalizing spilled out. She talked about her breakup and the guilt she carried. She couldn't believe she missed the red flags. She felt used, betrayed. She said, "I should have known better. Why didn't I see it? I look stupid. I told my whole family we were planning to get engaged after college. I talked about him like he was the perfect guy." Her therapist noticed how harsh and self-blaming her thoughts had become. Amber also expressed fear about her future. Now she had to figure out what comes next alone. She admitted she had mismanaged some money her parents let her borrow, and now she was struggling financially. She didn't want to ask her family for help again. Amber states, "They have already done so much for me. I feel irresponsible, like maybe I'm not as smart or valuable or responsible as I thought I was. I'm making bad choices in my relationships and in my finances. I'm ruining my life." Her therapist explained that her thoughts were known as ants, automatic negative thoughts, also known as thought traps. And the more they were triggered, the more severe Amber's depressive symptoms would become. As Amber talked, she realized her depression had quietly taken over her mind. It colored every thought in shades of hopelessness. It made her feel like her mistakes were unforgivable and her future unfixable. And depending on the severity of Amber's symptoms, her therapist explained she could consider psychotropic medications, something to help stabilize her mood while she works through the emotional healing. And in addition to the medications, Amber's therapist suggested cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which could help her challenge and change negative thoughts, build healthier thinking patterns and self-talk, and change self-defeating habits that keep her stuck. Amber isn't broken. She's overwhelmed, and depression has convinced her that she's the problem rather than acknowledging the pain and pressure she's been under. Her therapist told her gently, "You're not failing, you're hurting, and hurt can be healed." Amber and her therapist talked about next steps, such as building her self-esteem, learning positive affirmations and ways to validate herself, strengthening her coping skills, breaking old patterns and replacing them with healthier habits, practicing self-forgiveness, and setting small, manageable goals, tiny steps that will help her regain control instead of trying to fix everything all at once. Amber also opened up to her therapist about drinking to numb her pain, something her therapist addressed with compassion rather than judgment. Together, they explored what she was trying to escape from and how alcohol was actually worsening her mood and increasing her sense of hopelessness. Together, Amber and the therapist made a plan, not to solve everything overnight, but to start reclaiming her life piece by piece. Amber's story isn't about weakness. It's about recognizing when depression has hijacked your mind and reaching out for help before it convinces you that you don't deserve it. Amber's story is still unfolding. She hasn't fixed everything overnight. She hasn't solved every problem. But she has, however, made one powerful decision. She chose to stop letting the wrong voice or inner critic narrate her life. And now it's your turn. Take a moment to self-reflect. Which voice or thought has been louder in your mind lately? Your inner critic or your inner guide? And have you been blaming yourself for not seeing the red flags? Holding on to guilt for mistakes you've already learned from? Numbing your pain instead of addressing it directly? Letting depression distort the truth about who you are? Or are you beginning to show yourself grace? Take small and actionable steps forward. Challenge the negative thoughts that drain you and seek help instead of suffering alone. Amber isn't just fighting depression. She's fighting the voice that tells her she should have known better. She's fighting the voice that says you're ruining your life. And she's fighting the voice that twists every loss into a personal failure, because that's what depression does. Her inner critic is loud, but her inner guide, however, is trying to get her attention. So the question is, which voice will Amber follow? And which voice do you or will you follow in your life? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.